Welcome to Recently Logged, where this week we're looking back at our 2023. Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
Here we are. We're talking about more 2023 stuff. We're just hung up on last year.
Yeah,
we can't get over it.
Man.
You think we had long
we need
enough?
to move on.
Yeah, move on, guys. Come on.
No, we're continuing, kind of similar to what our big live stream was about, where we went over all of the films that we watched from 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we're going to be delving into specifically our Letterboxd stats from 2023.
Yeah.
And just having some fun with it. And we'll do a What We Watched segment at the end to talk about more of like the movies we've been watching recently. So
yeah, I thought this could be a fun experience for you guys to kind of delve a little further into our personal tastes, even though you get like, you know, a taste of it with the What We Watched segment and everything.
Because I know we're just that interesting.
We're so interesting. No,
I can't get enough of us.
I think it's fun. Even just seeing strangers' Letterboxd stats, because everyone's is so like wildly different, you know? People have such strange, like, oddly varied watching habits.
Well, and it's interesting because me doing YouTube so consistently this last year has led to some oddities in my Letterboxd as well. So there's some fun stuff to delve into.
Yeah.
So pull up your Letterboxd stats and join us as we compare.
Yes.
Alright, so we're going to just kind of break it down section by section and talk through our Letterboxd stats. If you, again, have a Letterboxd, I think you just need a pro. I don't think you need Patreon to do this.
If you're a pro subscriber on Letterboxd.com, it automatically generates one of these like stats pages for every year that you've been on the platform. If you've logged, I think, like 5 films or more.
So yeah, you can come along with us on this journey and see how you compare to our movie watching tendencies, which are sometimes extreme,
sometimes erratic. Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning, which is just kind of our big numbers.
It's a very good place to start.
Start at the very beginning. So we open up at the very top of our stats for 2023.
A lot of numbers up at the top.
Diary entries. Yeah. So this is how many times we specifically logged a film on Letterboxd.
Yeah, not just write a review, but specifically like attached a date and a review to a film.
Yeah, and I have 438 diary entries.
Which I was surprised that I was a little higher than you, but I do log short films and you don't. So I imagine this is actually probably pretty comparable.
I was going to say, I only log short films if I do write a review, and I don't write reviews for a lot of short films.
Yeah.
So, but on top of that, you kind of got around a lot with like the film festival stuff and everything like that. Like you had a lot of times where you could just like log a bunch of films in a couple days, and I never really had that.
Yeah. But I ended up logging 472 diary entries.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Is well over. We both well went over the 365 days.
That's typically what I shoot for. Like in a year, I'm like, if I can watch like a film for every day, not necessarily a film on every day, you know, I'm good. Like that's enough movies for a year.
No, this was probably my most like movie watching year probably ever.
Oh, for sure. For me, anyway.
We had AMC A-list, which means we could go to the theater.
We got to see new releases,
this isn't on these stats, but I had this because I tag everything I go see in theaters with a tag on Letterboxd, and I think it was like 53 movies in theaters.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Which is crazy for a year for me. Like that just doesn't really happen. So
I'm curious to check my stat on that, because I also tagged my diary entries with like if I go to a theater. But what was the next stat for you?
The next stat is reviews. So specifically how many of those I reviewed. And I reviewed 372 films.
So a bit less.
Yeah, so a little bit less. I didn't write reviews for most of my rewatches is typically what that is, but I tried to watch like any new film I watched, I tried to give it a review.
Yeah, that makes sense. I believe mine was, I write a review for everything I log, and then I wrote 2 additional reviews that didn't have like a date. I just wanted to actually write something about the movies. So I have 274, so just 2 extra
more
films.
than how many you log. That's funny. Just as kind of, because these don't have too much discussion that can go with them, I also made 28 lists, which I don't know, like the lists things. This is like a big thing for me on Letterboxd. And Letterboxd, anyone at Letterboxd, if you're listening, one of the things I really wish we had was like a convenient little search of lists, because I keep not liking making lists, even though I really enjoy making lists.
Right.
Just because it gets so piled up and so hard to find all my specific lists. I don't want to have to like scroll through hundreds of lists to
whenever
find
I need to find something, I either go on the computer, because they do have a search for your lists on the computer version, or I just sort my lists by alphabetical, because I have all of them like titled in a way that I can find stuff.
Yeah, most of the lists I made though were just pretty much like a lot of rankings.
You made a couple like seasonal lists too.
Yeah, was that this year?
Yeah,
because a lot of
I
it
think
was
so.
just like my top decades. I did Christmas movies.
Yeah, you made a Christmas list.
I made several. Like I did my Ghibli ranking, Kubrick ranking.
Yeah.
All of these count because a lot of these count because I updated them. I did 100 spooky spooks for Halloween.
That was pretty cool.
I did a teenage angst list. I had a lot of fun with lists this year. I really, I enjoy making Letterboxd lists a lot. It's just not as convenient as I would like, being that I mainly use the app.
Yeah. I tracked down my number, Micah. I apparently went and saw 58 movies in theaters in this past year, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot for us.
Yeah,
for sure.
58. Typically I get like 13 max, like in the past years.
How many lists did you have though, Robbie?
You don't want to know. I made 166 lists. I attempted to fill out my Letterboxd stats, like they let you tag each year and each decade with like an official ranking list that you can make. So I did that for like every year I had seen movies from, which sounds meticulous, but it was really fun. So I had a great time.
This next category is very funny. This is likes, which I assume is how many things you've liked.
Yeah, it's how many things you've liked, whether that be a list, review, film, even.
Yeah, so the thing about me, I very rarely... I'll like reviews when I remember to. I don't often remember to, but I don't like seek out reviews to like, and I don't really like people, like I don't like seek out lists, so I don't usually like lists. So I pretty much just like movies when I like movies.
This might be like our most staggeringly different statistic, even compared to the list number.
I was about to say, my numbers are a lot more than my diary entries. I have 874 likes, which is more than double.
Yeah.
Well, actually, just under double, because that...
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
And like, that's quite a few in my opinion, but let's hear Robbie's.
Apparently I liked 10,802 things on Letterboxd in the past year. 10,000. That's crazy. I mean, I'm on Letterboxd every day, like liking reviews and lists and everything, but that is like an absurd number to me. 10,000 likes.
Crazy.
My goodness.
And then the next one is whatever. It's 24 comments.
I think that's comments you left.
I'm assuming, people. That's comments I left, because I did comment more this year than I usually would on Letterboxd. I don't really engage with Letterboxd that much on like a social level.
On a social level, yeah. That's like its whole functionality outside of being like a film logging thing. It's meant to be a social.
Which is typically what I use it for. It's just like a little personal thing.
No, mine was much higher than it was last year. I did 65 comments. I composed 65 comments in the whole year.
And then our last one, which is pretty funny, being that our numbers being the way that they are.
Yeah.
It's hours of movies or film logged.
Yeah, just any sort of media. So that could be miniseries as well.
Yeah. I have 818.8 hours, which is a hearty chunk.
That's a lot, dude.
That is a lot of hours.
I have 640.6, which is like,
I was about to say, the fact that
way lower than I expected.
Yeah, I
compared to yours anyway.
Less than you.
Yeah.
And yet have like 200 more hours than you.
Well, I think you did complete a couple TV shows over the course of this past year.
I logged several TV shows.
Which that would help a lot.
I logged a
lot of just short films.
Yeah, and a lot of what I've been watching too. I've been watching a ton of really long movies and stuff. Even I believe it might have been last year, but like stuff like Until the End of the World and stuff like that, which is like a 5-hour film.
That was this year.
And I've got the hours to pull in. I just think that's funny given the rest of our stats.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
The next thing we're going to look at is our most popular, like our most logged times of the month and the week.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is the bi-week section on the Letterboxd stats page.
If you're staring at your stats page, which this won't take long. No. I think this is just fun. I wanted to point out like our most logged week, how many films we logged in 1 week. And then also some of our most logged days and averages and stuff.
I was about to say, I have my most logged week, which is crazy. Too.
Here, what's yours, Robbie?
It is, oh gosh, I just backed out of it. Here it is, April 24th to April 30th, which I logged 26 films over the course of that, so it was 7 days.
Wow.
Which I think that's when the film festival was going on.
Yeah, that's in April, yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would have
late
definitely
April,
been the
early
film
May,
festival.
yeah. So I was binging through like Hundreds of Beavers and a bunch of short films and like a couple of features. Yeah, it was mostly short films, I think, that contributed to that. Because I watched...
Which week of April?
The 24th to the 30th.
Yeah, I have 9 films for that week.
Yeah, that must have been
even that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
But my peak week was November 13th through the 19th when I watched 16 films.
Oh my goodness.
And this was...
It's more than 2 a day.
Yeah, this is when I was sick.
Yeah.
I think you guys had probably heard of this earlier, but I was literally in bed and did not feel like doing anything. So I just watched a bunch of stuff, and it was, pretty fun other than the whole being sick part.
Right. Yeah. No, whenever I'm sick, I'm always like, finally time enough to read my books or whatever, But, like, I never feel up to watching movies when I'm sick. I'm always like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, but I watched some pretty good ones. I watched, Blue Velvet and Killing of the Sacred Deer and some ones that I'd been meaning to get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had an average per month of 36.5 films.
Which is that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I have 39.3, but again, I think all of my numbers, except for, like, watch time, are going to be slightly higher.
I was going to say are skewed a little higher with short films and everything.
Yeah.
And I have an average of 8.4 films a week.
9.1.
So a little bit over a film a day.
Yeah.
Apparently my average amount the day I watch the most films is pretty cliche.
It is
Saturday.
Yeah. Mine's Wednesday, which I'm kind of surprised about. Like I don't know what I'm doing on Wednesdays, but apparently I'm watching movies.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday stand out pretty highly above the rest of my days for most watched. I have 81 films that I logged on a Saturday and 71 films I logged on a Sunday.
Interesting. Yeah. Friday's a really close contender for me, but yeah, Wednesday. That is strange. Maybe
I don't know. Sunday afternoons are a great time to watch movies.
I'm usually tired, man.
We also have a fun little section up next. Is our milestones section. So this is kind of like important dates or things that you hit while watching, and these are fun.
Yeah.
Ours are actually the exact same for our milestones for first film and last film.
Well, because we watched both of them together.
Yeah. So on January 1st, in fact, it was like. Did we watch it like the night?
I think
of the first.
It was either no. I think we rented it or bought it like that night and watched it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like midnight of like New Year's Eve or whatever.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I guess not.
Yeah.
But yeah, on January 1st, we watched The Fabelmans.
Yes.
Which we've talked about like back on the week of January. We talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's such a good movie. What a great film to start like a year with. That was a really solid opening.
I was about to say, between The Fabelmans and me getting my Atlanta Film Society membership this past year, it was a good film. It was a good film year for me, you know.
And then the last film that we both had was Ferrari.
Yeah, which we just talked about.
And I just put a video out on my channel talking about it a little bit more in depth, as well as the Iron Claw. So you should go check that out. That's cool. But I just thought that was funny that we had January 1st and December 31st just being the first and last the same.
Right.
So up next we have diary milestones. These are like hitting big numbers for how many films you've logged in your lifetime on Letterboxd.
Well, this
one is for the year specifically.
For the year,
yeah. I have some interesting ones. The 50th film I watched in 2023 was Shaft, the original 70s Shaft.
Which is probably much better than mine, which was Sea Beast. I was trying to catch up for awards season.
Yeah, the 150th was Spirited Away live on stage. That's cool.
That is pretty cool.
And the 200 and 250 ones, it's kind of funny because I was doing my Martin Scorsese watch because I did a ranking of all of his movies on my YouTube channel. So my 200th is New York, New York, but my 250th is Kundun. So,
Indeed.
like, I watched 50, like, I logged 50 things in the time, because Kundun was one of the last ones I got my hands on.
Yeah.
And New York, New York was one of the first ones when I was doing my big watch through.
It's very funny. My 250th is just Airplane, which was a first-time watch, and, like, it was good, but, like... compared to Kundun, it's a kind of a funny contrast.
The only other one of note, I think, is the 400th one, which was Eyes Wide Shut, just because that's a really fantastic movie.
Yeah, mine was the bad Godzilla movie. I've seen King Kong versus Godzilla as my 400th.
Oof.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add, or do you want to move on to most watched?
Yeah, let's just cover what we watched the most times, or rewatched the most times over this past year.
Yeah, so fun little category up next. It keeps track of how many times you specifically logged that movie this year.
Yes.
Or rather, 2023.
Yeah.
So what was your most watched, Remy?
Both of my, like, tied for the top spot are Scream 5 and Scream 6, which is funny, but, like, we did cover them on the podcast this year, so it makes sense.
Well, and we watched them, like, for the first time, and we watched them for the podcast, and then I think we watched them again for some, like, I don't know, we were sprinkling them in.
That's crazy to think about, that we watched them for the first time this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, 6 came out last year.
I was about to say, that's crazy. But yeah, I logged both of those 3 times.
Yeah, my most watched film was After Sun, which I logged 4 times. But I also did a video on that.
That is true.
What's interesting about that is my next most watched, there's like 5 films tied for 3 times.
Yeah, I have 6 films.
I was about to say I have Scream 6, I have Scream 3, but then I also have The Witch, The Shining, and Cabin in the Woods. And what's funny about that is every single one of those is a horror movie. So outside of After Sun, all of my most like rewatched films of 2023 were horror films.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them in the twice logged slot, but most notably The Shining, which I watched for the first time this year and then got to go see again in theaters.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Which it's now like my favorite film.
I was about to say the only other 2 that pop up on twice for me is The Green Knight and Paprika, which again are 2 films that I did videos on. So again, YouTube really has skewed my stats a little bit.
That tracks, yeah.
What do you have next? What do we have next, Robbie?
Next up is the genres, countries, and languages section, which it's just like our most watched genres, countries, and languages.
Yeah, we'll go over. I say we go over like our top 3.
Yeah, top
genres.
few. Yeah.
So or here you go first.
Yeah, I've got comedy obviously as my number 1. I still think I claim that as my favorite genre, either that or horror. But yeah, I have comedy at 147 films this year, and then drama and horror after that.
Yeah, mine is drama as my top one. I have 180 dramas.
Given your Scorsese watch through, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, just in general, I find a lot of the films I lean towards end up falling into the drama category.
Yep.
But then afterwards is thriller at 135 and horror at 124.
Makes sense, yeah.
Comedy just underneath with 123.
Yeah, I do think it's funny that comedy kind of dominated my year again, given the fact that I went out of my way to watch so many like giallo stuff and like kind of more foreign horror. Like that was the big thing that I tried to dive into this year.
What's interesting is if you hop over to highest rated genres, I think I have like almost a 3-way tie, like right in there, or 4-way tie almost, like just within the point numbers. History with a 4.29, romance with a 4.28, crime with a 4.26, and drama with a 4.25.
That's funny. I have crime, drama, and thriller as my top few. But
I was going to say, I really like a lot of the romance films that I watched last year are some of like my favorites. I really loved so many of the romance films I got to, like a lot of romance dramas.
Does Eyes Wide Shut fall under that? I mean, guess so, yeah.
It's kind of a romance film. Because, of course, we're from the U.S., if you look at our highest watched movies from, like, which countries, the U.S. is, like, astronomically the top one.
I was about to say, I think ours are almost the same. It's U.S., U.K., France as our top 3, and then it shuffles around a little bit after that.
So, yeah, I have, like, 358 U.S., 80 U.K.
I have 66 U.K., oh gosh.
But yeah, so that doesn't surprise me, though. Interestingly enough, my highest rated country to produce movies that I watched was China. I get like all the Chinese films that I watched last year came out to an average of a 4.75.
Dude, I have Ireland as my highest rated country, like production country. We had a 4.5, which is pretty cool. I didn't know that.
And of course, this one isn't really of note. The language is like the same way. You know, most of the films we watch are in English.
Yeah. I'm a little let down, honestly, because I noticed that Italy only had 16 films after I went. It seemed like a very big part. Like, it's a big part of my cinematic experience in the past year, but it only amounted to like a couple, like a dozen.
My highest rated language film is Japanese, German, and French, actually. So no, English does not make my top 3 languages for highest rated.
Yeah, Japanese, English, and Italian.
Which is kind of funny for me.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, I think. Next up, or like the next little section on the stats page, is themes and nanogenres, which is a new thing that they just introduced this past year.
Yeah, these are cool. These are always interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because they're just kind of like weird breakdowns of stuff.
Well, it's a bit more like niche kind of genre breakdowns, if that makes sense. It again tackles themes and nanogenres. It's exactly what it says.
So for themes, my top 3 most watched are gory, gruesome, and slasher horror.
That's my top one.
Terrified, haunted, and supernatural horror. And horror, the undead, and monster classics.
Okay, mine's almost the same. I have the gory, gruesome slasher at number 1, and then undead monsters. Like that one's my number 2, and then sci-fi horror, which I thought was interesting. We really has aliens.
Yeah, we really went in hard for horror movies this year. Like we hit a lot of horror movies that we hadn't seen,
and they're great. All of them were great.
For highest rated, mine is really funny because I have a 5-way tie for the highest rated.
I have a 2-way
themes. I have moving relationship stories, emotional LGBTQ relationships, emotional and touching family dramas, legendary musicians and stardom.
Legendary musicians.
And what is my last one?
Get Maestro over here.
Charming romances and delightful chemistry.
Heck yeah.
Those are my top rated themes.
It's funny, teen friendship and coming of age has a 5.0, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, all of those have a 5.0 for me.
Yeah, I have powerful stories of heartbreak and illness? Oh no. But, you know, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's funny, though. I did watch a lot of, like I said, a lot of really fantastic romance films. I was really happy with a lot of the romance films that I watched, and especially during, like, Pride Month and everything, I tried to hit up specifically some more LGBTQ romance films, which the ones that I watched were really good.
Well, I mean, and thinking back on, like, our childhoods and, like, where our blind spots are cinematically, it makes sense that, like, now that we're delving a bit more into like film exploration, most of the stuff we're watching is stuff we wouldn't have watched as kids.
Like a lot of like R-rated romance dramas,
or even
crime
just like regular romance films. We never really watched them when we were younger, you know.
But you know, what are you gonna do? For nano genres, a little bit redundant because it's just all horror again for my most watched. I have frightening twist climax, eerie blood, horrifying, spooky, unsettling, horrific.
That's interesting because I have like 3 different horror ones. I have thriller, climax, fear, creepy, gothic, screaming, and then creepy, brutal death. It's funny that creepy made it on there on 2 of them.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh my goodness, I have
for literally
rated,
I have 2.
Tie.
Same.
Every single one in the nano genres is tied at a 5.0.
Same. I think there's just too many nano genres.
Well, the thing is, not every film has a nano genre attributed to it, so it's only like really popular movies that you watch will have it, and usually you rate those highly. So
yeah, but I don't know. The couple of the top ones: mystery, confused, confusion, emotionally complicated, troubled, which I think is kind of funny. And thrills, gripping, intrigue.
This is funny. Society, intellectual and daring. That's funny. Apparently, I highly rate films about society.
Robbie, but he didn't even. I watched Society this year, and Robbie did not watch.
You actually watched Society.
So feel like, oh my gosh, one of them is cry cute songs. Is one of the Nana genres. That is a 5.0 for me.
That's so funny, dude. That's great.
Up next we have the breakdown section, which gives little pie charts.
I do love a good pie chart.
But you guys can't really see the pie charts, so that doesn't really specifically work. But we can mention the stats.
Yeah, you can tell you the
charts.
percentages, yeah.
So Robbie, what do we have?
First is 2023 releases versus like movies released before 2023.
Yeah.
Which I was pretty happy with my ratio. I wish it was a little higher because I've been trying to keep up with like new releases, but I have a 19.9% like 2023 release watches for this year. So
15.3 of the movies I watched in 2023 were 2023 releases, or 67 of 438.
94 of 472. Yeah.
The next one's interesting. The next one is watches versus rewatches, which I was pretty impressed with mine this year.
Dude, I was really happy with
this
mine.
time. 68% of the films I watched in 2023 were the first time I was logging those films.
That's
so
so
I'd seen them
cool.
for the first time.
This is the stat that I'm actually like, that I am most interested in at the end of the year, because when I first got on Letterboxd, it was like really skewed towards rewatches because I was like rewatching everything now that I had a Letterboxd and like reviewing stuff. But now that I'm like getting more into film exploration, it's an 83% like first watches for this year, which is cool.
Yeah, no,
I really like that.
Cool. And then the last one that we have is reviewed versus not reviewed, which, if you could tell from Robbie's previous stat, he's got a 100% review.
Yeah, since I have more reviews than diary entries for the year.
I have 84.9% of my diary entries were reviewed.
Yes. This is kind of a funny stat, too, especially compared to last year. The last one in this section is watch lists changes.
Yeah.
I watched 264 movies from my watch list this year, which is cool. Like, stuff I actively wanted to see.
How many did you add, Robbie?
I added 1,300 films to my watch list.
Yeah, I watched 170 films off my watch list.
Which is pretty admirable, yeah.
And added 432 films to my watch list.
Fair enough.
Up next is a fun category. We're getting to our actors and directors, like your most watched and highest rated actors and directors.
A lot of people like to share these at the end of the year.
Yeah. Again, mine are kind of goofily skewed.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
No, the podcast like totally threw my actors at least, because these are all like either James Cameron alumni or Alien alumni or Scorsese alumni.
I was about to say my top... we'll do top 5 for this.
Yeah, why not?
My top 5 are Robert De Niro with 10 films.
Of course.
Harvey Keitel with 8 films. Sigourney Weaver with 8 films. Leonardo DiCaprio with 7 films. And Samuel L. Jackson with 7 films.
Interesting. I have Michael Fassbender as my top spot with 9 films.
He didn't even make mine.
I have Robert De Niro at 8, Lance Herskin at 7, Sigourney Weaver at 7, and Catherine Watterson at 7 as well.
My highest rated actors, though, and this is always kind of skewed. I'll just do top 5 because why not?
I was about to say all of mine are 5.0s.
Because if you watch a 5-star movie and you only watch that actor in that movie the entire year, then that actor gets like a 5.0.
Well, no, it has to be at least 2 movies to have an average. But if you rate both of them 5s, then they're going to have a 5.0.
I was about to say, I'll do my top 5 because I've got more than just 5 with a 5.0 average.
Yeah,
so my top 5 would be Jack Ryan, which is kind of funny because he made an appearance in several films that I was not expecting him in. Like, he was in Asteroid City as a new film, which was cool.
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali, which he's like one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, so I was about to say, over the past year, has become one of your favorite actors.
Greta Lee, which she's really good. Liv Schreiber, I believe is how you would
Live
say.
Schreiber.
Or Live Schreiber, sorry. Darn dyslexia, man. And then Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum sitting at a perfect 5.0.
Jurassic Park, The Fly, Asteroid City.
I mean, fair enough. I don't even know like some of these people on mine. I have James Remar, Dave Bautista, Jeanette Goldstein, Beth Grant, and Barry Dennen. Again, I don't know what I've seen these people in, but I've seen them in something that I really like.
I was about to say, and they were apparently pretty good.
Oh, she was in Southland Tales and Matchstick Men. That makes sense.
But moving on to directors.
Yeah.
This is most watched directors. My most watched director. Mine is so embarrassing.
It's so funny,
Mine
dude.
is so embarrassing. This is like the most embarrassing thing I've ever said on the podcast. Martin Scorsese, 18 films. Quentin Tarantino, 8 films. Because I did my Tarantino watch through. Because I had never watched any of his movies.
Yeah.
David Lynch, 6 films. Ridley Scott, 5 films. And Wes Anderson, 5 films.
Dude, it reeks of film bro in here. My goodness.
That is such an embarrassing 5 most watched directors.
That's so funny. My top 5 were James Cameron with 10 films. I'm pretty proud of that one. Martin Scorsese at 8, Alfred Hitchcock at 8, and then Paul Thomas Anderson at 7, and Ridley Scott with 6 films. And I'm going to give an honorable mention to Jim Henson, because I watched a bunch of Jim Henson stuff this year, and it was great. All of it.
For highest rated, this one runs into the same kind of problem.
Yeah, a lot of 5.0s.
If you haven't watched a lot. I have Richard Linklater at a 5. Stanley Kubrick at a 5.
Of course.
Benny and Josh Safdie at a 5. Wes Anderson at a 5, and I'll throw in one because I kind of did the brothers, and David Cronenberg at a 5.
Interesting. I have Jonathan Demme, Stanley Kubrick, Christopher Nolan, Mary Harron, and Ryan Johnson, all at 5.0s.
Also, shout out to Charlotte Wells, who also has a 5.0 for me, because she directed Aftersun.
Heck yeah, dude.
And Aftersun is pretty epic, I would say.
I would tend to agree.
Up next, the section we'll jump down to if you're keeping along, you're playing along at home. We're going all the way down to highs and lows.
Yep.
Which this is a fun little category where it gives stuff that you rated higher than average or rated, like, you just different averages and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, it like takes the most, like the highest rated thing that you watched or the lowest rated thing you watched, most popular thing and most obscure thing that you watched for the year.
Yeah.
So
I think our highest rated or average rated thing is the same. We both have Stop Making Sense.
Obviously.
Which we get to go see in IMAX.
I was about to say, it had its big theatrical re-release. Of course, we both watched it, and of course, everyone loves it on Letterboxd.
Stop Making Sense.
It's Stop Making Sense, yeah.
What's your lowest average movie you watched?
My lowest average is a film called Splatter that I watched. It's actually a short film that Joe Dante directed and Roger Corman produced. It's like a $2 budget Netflix produced, like back in the 2000s.
Crazy.
Netflix produced murder mystery thing, and it's really terrible. It's one of the worst things I watched
What's its
this
average?
year.
I meant to say
it's a 1.6.
I was about to say Stop Making Sense has a 4.7.
Yeah, Splatter has a 1.6 average.
That beats out mine, yeah.
There's some cool fisheye shots, but like it's really boring and bad.
It's funny, my lowest average film was Black Mirror Maisie Day. Which
that is kind of funny.
Has a 2.1.
Yeah, that's low, man.
Well, dude, I tried especially this year, like if you look at my rating spread this year, it leans very high. Mm-hmm. But I really tried this year, and it's kind of what I try and do in general, to just go for films that I think are going to be good. And usually, like, I've been pretty right about that. The only reason I watched Maisie Day was just because I've been watching through Black Mirror. Maisie Day sucks.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I was about to say, I picked Splatter because I wanted to see more Joe Dante stuff, and this was during October, and I hadn't watched a horror film for the day, and I was like, oh, it's short, I'll watch that. And then it was terrible.
Yeah, no, Maisie Day is really embarrassing. It's one of the worst episodes of Black Mirror, and there are some pretty bad episodes of Black Mirror.
That's funny.
We both have the same most popular, because I'm pretty sure it was just the most popular movie on Letterboxd this year.
Probably, yeah.
Barbie, of course.
Of course.
Really fun movie.
I was about to say,
it's popular.
It deserves to be the most popular, dude. It's great.
Most obscure, we pulled some different things, because you pulled something more obscure than this one, even though you watched this with me.
Yeah, I was about to say, I managed to get a low average and a more obscure film.
My most obscure that I watched was Hippo versus Croc. Hippo versus Croc. How many? Oh, it doesn't pop up on here as easily to find as on the app. I was going to tell you how many people have logged it, but I don't know where that stat is online, like on the web version.
Yeah, no, neither do I. Oh my goodness. Only 5 people have logged
What did you watch, Robbie?
My most obscure watch of the year is Shelf Life, directed by Errands. It was a short film that I watched during one of the short packages at Atlanta Film Festival for this year. It's a stop-motion animated film about, like, sort of female anxiety in aging. And it's really interesting. And it's, like, one of the best short films I watched this year. And it's really insightful. It's really well made. Go check it out if you could track it down. Only 5 people have watched it. But, like, it's really beautiful and well crafted. It's called Shelf Life. Aaron Zhang directed it. Go watch it. It's great.
Hippo versus Croc is bad. Don't go watch it. It's a bad documentary.
Hippo versus Croc, you found the stat?
46 people have logged it on Letterboxd.
Dude, so, I can't believe mine's a single-digit log for the year. That's crazy.
Up next, though, is what I was initially referring to, which is our rated higher than average and rated lower than average, which are specifically Letterboxd patron stats. Yeah. So if you don't have Patreon, you can't play along at home.
No, Micah. Oh, no. I always think these are weird because I am so, wishy-washy on how I rate things, and it's always, like, they take the rating that you have on your diary entry and not like if you revised it doesn't matter. So like some of these I would have changed at this point, but it's still an interesting section.
Yeah, what are yours for higher rated films you rated higher than the average Letterboxd user?
This year I watched Skinamarink and gave it a 5, which the average is 2.87, which is shockingly low still for me. I think Skinamarink is like amazing, obviously. Knock at the Cabin's also on here. We did a whole episode about that. Southland Tales, which I watched for the first time.
I can't
and just adored it. I loved it.
It's so embarrassing.
Master Gardener made its way on here. I have lowered it since then, but it is very, very good. Definitely go watch it if you haven't seen it already. Scream 4 made it on here. Very good movie. And Killer Clowns from Outer Space also made it.
Yeah, mine are interesting. I also have Skinamarink. I didn't give it a 5, but I gave it a 4.5. I do think it's a really great movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a very low average.
Yeah, I'm just kind of shocked at how low it is. It's crazy.
Knock at the Cabin made it on mine as well.
Yep.
Society made it on mine. I really enjoyed Society, and I loved what it was going for, but it only has a 3.4 average.
I'm surprised it's not like I mean, it is a cult classic, but like it doesn't seem as widely loved on Letterboxd as I would assume.
It's really dumb, but it's really fun, and I like it. I like the way its little commentary works. So
interesting.
I also have Kundun, which I really adored, The Killer, which I really adored, and Asteroid City, which was I don't know. I really connected with Asteroid City. That was one of the most memorable watches for me in theaters of last year.
Man, The Killer's so good.
And The Killer's so funny.
It's so fun.
I feel like people I don't know are not viewing it as comedically as I view it.
You're gonna be like they're watching it wrong.
I'm not gonna say that because there's no wrong way to inherently watch a movie, but like, I don't know, again, I feel like a lot of the negative reviews I have seen from it, like, are not engaging with it as a comedy, and they're like, wow, this is really pretentious and dumb, which it is.
It is dumb, yeah.
That's part of what makes it really funny. Like, the egregious product placement is, like, as bad as, like, Haunted Mansion, but I think it actually has a reason and something to say and is really funny in The Killer.
But Micah, this episode isn't about The Killer.
I know.
Let's move on to our rated lower than the average Letterboxd user for the year.
Yeah.
I logged Doctor Who The Giggle at a 2-star, which I know, like, for people who bother logging the Doctor Who specials, obviously they're gonna like them. But that was my least favorite of the bunch. I do like some of the specials from this year, but not that one. I also logged The Room at a 1-star. Like,
oof, I can't believe it. What's its average?
2.59. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. It's just so awful. Like, I didn't even get that much ironic enjoyment out of it. It's such a like seethingly hateful movie. I did not enjoy it. I have The Stuntman on here as well at a 2-star rating. Christmas in Connecticut at a 2-star rating. Freebirds.
No, Robbie
at a 1
for Freebirds.
Dude, it's so bad.
Trying its best.
It's so bad.
It's so funny though, Robbie.
And then I also have Monster Squad at a 2-star rating. I don't like any of these movies.
Yeah, mine are interesting. I have Shark Tale, which I gave a 1.5. Very bad movie.
Yeah.
I have Me Before You, which I think is an actively harmful, kind of gross movie. I cannot believe it's got a 3.28 average.
Is that the one you were talking about that's like really ableist?
Yeah, it's extremely ableist in a kind of like dark, gross way. Which, again, most of the top reviews of the movie comment on that, but yet it's still got a 3.28. Next up is Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas, which we talked about. I only gave it a 2. Christmas in Connecticut, which I only gave a 2.5.
Yeah.
All Quiet on the Western Front, which I gave a 3 versus its 3.97
We
average.
talked about it on our Oscars episode, I think.
It's not a bad film. It deserves its 3, but I kind of hate it on principle.
I don't know. It kind of is bad almost. Like, it's teetering on bad, I think.
And then I also have Jodorowsky's Dune, which is a documentary
about Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah, about Jodorowsky's Dune. And I gave it a 3 because it's like a fine constructed documentary, but I really hate it on principle. Like, there's such a smugness about what it's doing.
I mean, would you watch it again?
No.
That's usually my metric for like teetering between a 2.5 or like a 3 or something.
It's just like, it's kind of... It's that same kind of thing as where I almost feel like it's kind of gross because of the way it views Jodorowsky's work and how one-sided it is.
Yeah,
like it
seems to deify Jodorowsky with how you described it anyway.
It talks about his production like it was this literally like holy thing that was supposed to go correct, and then it just didn't because people didn't see the vision, even though like... From what they present in the documentary, it was just he was bad at managing the production.
I was about to say, it sounds like a poorly managed production with some good ideas behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. And then it goes to like really big extremes, talking about just how much it influenced films for the rest of time. And it really rubbed me the wrong way. I do not like it.
That's funny. I figured here at the end, I would read off like the highly rated films I've yet to see from 2023, because we have missed a couple this year, in spite of our A-list status at AMC.
Well, most of these didn't make it into our theater.
That is true. A couple notable ones. There are a lot of anime like specials on here.
Yeah, the Attack on Titan special.
But I still want to see Eras Tour, like the big Taylor Swift concert film. I want to see Poor Things still, maybe.
Monster, I want to see.
Yeah, Monster's
definitely.
The big one here that I've missed out on. And Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah,
I have
Godzilla -1. I still haven't caught Godzilla -1.
Oh, it's so good, Micah.
But yeah, that's kind of a run through of our 2023 stats on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was fun. Maybe you got to play along at home. I think that would be fun.
I was about to say, even if you don't subscribe to Pro, check your inbox for your wrapped email that they send out to everyone, and it'll give you a couple of these. Yeah, a couple of these stats that you can at least be like, oh, there's my like most watched actor for the year. It's still fun.
So yeah, let's get into just a brief little look at how our podcast has been performing, just as a fun little thing, because we've grown a lot as a podcast in this last year, which is cool. We're going to be grabbing specifically from our Spotify stats, which does not include stuff like YouTube and different podcasting platforms, but it'll still be fun.
Yeah, I was about to say, I haven't actually looked at our Wrapped. I know a lot of people like kind of, look at them directly when they come in, but this should be interesting. Me and Micah have it pulled up on, again, Spotify for podcasters, so let's go. In 2023, people were really feeling what you do. Okay.
According to Spotify.
Right, according to Spotify.
You say that to all your podcasts.
Let's take it from the top. Okay. Top episode was the menu review.
Featuring our sister, Marianne.
Real early in the season.
Shout out to Marianne.
All right, cool. I didn't know that was our most listened episode for this season, at least, on our podcast stuff.
That's cool.
It was streamed 273% more than your average episode,
which is interesting. Though I know for a fact a lot of Marianne's friends use Spotify for their podcasting, so that'd be very funny if that's what pumped it up. But still, that seems pretty good.
Yeah. Let's see what pops up next. A bunch of crazy transitions.
Right.
Let's hear it for the new fans. Okay.
89% of your listeners are started listening in 2023.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
So that means we had an 89% growth of listenership.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roderick rules. That review really brought them in. That's funny. That's not even from this season.
People love Roderick Rules, though.
30% of your new listeners started with the Roderick Rules episode. That's cool. That's a good,
Roderick Rules.
I'll say it. That's a good taste for, like, our podcast, I think. Like, how we go about reviewing stuff, even though it is a Diary of a Wimpy Kid live-action sequel. Yeah.
But people love Roderick Rules. It's good. It's great.
Ooh, how does it feel to have gone global?
What's our global listeners?
Yeah, I'm curious.
You were streamed in 10 countries. Of course, United States was the top country, with 75% of our total streams coming from the U.S.
Yeah, I know we typically have a decent UK listener base as well. Get any good postcards this year? We have most new listeners in the United States and the UK. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I feel like that's like,
Your listeners have good taste, obviously. So what else are they into? Let's see what our listeners listen to.
I'm curious. Top podcast genres
TV
for our
and
listeners.
Film, kids and family, and sports. You guys are listening to sports podcasts.
You can't be into movies and sports.
Sorry, guys.
You gotta pick one. That's kind of funny. I mean, that's pretty much what I'd expect.
Oh, it gives their music genres, too. That's funny.
Top music genres for our listeners were pop, rock, and movie tunes.
Yeah, we got the movie tunes, people.
I mean, I guess anyone who listens to a film review podcast is probably going to listen to a lot of scores.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I still don't get the appeal of doing that.
I love listening to movie scores.
This year, your listeners did more than just listen. They talked. Ooh, you published 31 polls, which received 3 votes. Okay, if you guys check, I did put out a poll for every episode of this season.
I've never seen a poll on Spotify, so I don't even blame the 3 votes.
I was about to say,
not every...
I appreciate the engagement. I just thought it was funny. I put out a poll for every episode this season.
I was about to say, in general, you can get a lot more engagement on a platform like YouTube because people are prepared for it, and it's a lot more of like a visual medium, so you're prepared for that kind of thing. Yeah. But I've never voted on a poll on Spotify.
Yeah, no, there's a questionnaire and a poll for almost every episode in season 5. If you go on Spotify. Feel free to engage if you want to.
For all our Spotify listeners, are you a gardener? Spotify asks.
Why do you ask? I wonder.
Because your podcast saw some nice growth this year. 51% more listeners.
Yep.
38% more streams. 38% more followers.
Interesting.
And 17% more minutes created. So we
were more prolific.
Episodes.
Yeah, we were more prolific this year. That's good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Season 4 was kind of like spotty on release, so that was good.
We were a little better about that this year.
Can't forget to give a shout out to your biggest fans. Here are your top 10
podcasts for 24 fans. Huh?
You're a top... we're okay. We're a top 10 podcast for 24 fans.
We can read, guys.
We have 2 people who can't read, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so for 24 of our fans, we were the top podcast of the year, which is pretty cool. Thank you for listening. Top 5 podcasts.
I was going to say we were
in
the top 5 or top 10 for 24.
Drum roll, please. Are we going to be number 1 for a lot of people? For 6 people.
We were in their top listened to podcast.
Look at that. We made the Spotify Wrapped, baby.
Shout out to 6 people. I think
Shout out to 6 people.
I think specifically Kaler was one of those.
Yeah.
He was on the Rango episode.
Go listen to the Rango episode.
He's an avid listener of the podcast. So thank you, Kaler, for I believe being one of those.
Yeah,
6
no,
fans.
he sent us a message. He was like, recently logged was my number 1 this year. I'm like, yeah. That's pretty cool. Top fans listen to you 4 times more than your other listeners. Wow. Nice. I mean, that's not that
thanks,
surprising.
Top fans.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. 83% joined you for the first time this year.
We already heard that stat.
Yeah, hold on now. Hold on a second.
This is getting a little redundant.
Okay, so it's just relisting a bunch of stuff at the end. With firework animations, though.
Fireworks. Yay.
This is kind of interesting. It wasn't quite as showy last year.
Thank you for sharing your podcast with the world, says Spotify.
You're welcome.
Speaking of sharing...
Oh no, they made something just for us.
What is this?
It's a little share card.
We should tweet those, Robbie.
Yeah, we should.
Post them on the Instagram.
On the gram.
When the episode releases.
Yeah. All right.
So you'll see those, maybe.
It's just a little card with the stats.
That's funny. That was fun.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for listening. We've had again, the podcast has done pretty well this year. Or rather, last year.
Yeah, especially I keep referring to it as this year.
Right. Even on YouTube, like
we've had some great growth on YouTube this year. I think we doubled in subscribers. We've had a lot more consistent watch engagement, which is good because a lot of it has just been stray search result watches, and people weren't really engaging with it. But this year we saw a lot more commenters, which I try to respond to a lot of them if I can.
A lot more people actually listening, because a lot of our views on YouTube, especially because of our title way we do things.
Yeah, the way we title our episodes.
People looking for
just rips of the movie.
Yeah, pirates of movies. We have I think it's 30,000 on one of our Mission Impossible episodes, and the average view duration is 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's funny. I think we only got 2 disgruntled comments this year, being this was clickbait. I'm so sorry.
It's literally not, but it's fine.
But yeah, no. Thanks for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thanks for following our Letterboxd HQ page. If you did that, that's the only thing we spend money on for the podcast.
Right. Go follow us on Letterboxd.
Yeah, feel free to engage there. You'll get you can see lists when we publish new episodes, and see our reviews and everything when we publish new episodes. It's a cool page.
Yeah.
Go check it out. We got a lot more followers on there too, is the reason I brought it up. Not just promo.
But also promo,
yes. Always be plugging.
Yeah, let's get into a brief little what we watched segment.
Let's do it.
Alright, so for those of you who are new to the podcast or have never listened this far, though this is a really weird episode if you're new to the podcast to have listened to the end.
Yeah.
But if you did, thanks. That's pretty cool. You're cool. You're a cool person. The What We Watch segment is a fun little thing we do where we talk about all of the movies that we've seen within, in between
a certain
episodes,
date range,
and give brief thoughts, brief ratings, and just have fun. This time we're not going to do just that because time, and instead we're just going to start with the first of the year.
Yeah, our first few watches of 2024.
Yeah.
It's exciting. This is the groundwork, the foundation.
So on the first, we sat down, we wanted to watch a movie for the first, and our mom, for some reason, decided to turn on Roald Dahl's ECO Trot.
Yeah, which, this was in my watch list, to be fair.
It was in my watch list, too, just because ECO Trot is, one of my favorite books from him growing up. And it seemed so bizarre to adapt it to, a full movie, even if it is a TV movie.
Yeah, I liked it for the turtles and, the kind of cute old person romance. When I was younger, I was like, oh, this is a sweet book. When I was reading it, when I was reading through all of Roald Dahl's stuff. But yeah, I never imagined that it would translate well to the screen, and yet
it did.
It seems to have at least partially translate very well.
No, I kind of admire what this is doing. It still does, unfortunately, run into the problem that I figured it would, where ECO Trot's one of the shorter Roald Dahl books.
Yeah, it's not very long,
and this definitely does feel like it's padded out a bit, but. Really, it's just kind of good because Dustin Hoffman and Judi Dench are in it.
Yeah,
and it has a lot of tortoises.
It has some admirable direction. The set design is kind of cute. But a majority of the reason it works is just because of its 2 leads. But it is way more fun and sweet than I ever expected it to be. Especially considering James Corden is the narrator.
Oof, I was going to get to that. That's the biggest L of the entire movie is that in between all of this pretty sweet romance and pretty it's not amazing, but it's really watchable and really charming.
Yeah, watchable.
James Corden pops in and he's like, well, yeah, I'm annoying.
At least they're trying something with the camera work. It was more kinetic than I expected it to be. I don't know. It's
on Letterboxd, man, James Cameron is billed higher than Dustin Hoffman and
James
Judi Dench.
Cameron?
Not James Cameron, James Corden, darn it. But still.
That would be crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Dude, I need James Cameron to narrate a
That would be
for me.
Hilarious, actually.
Which is why his documentaries rock.
But I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was really cute.
fair enough. I'd probably land on, I think, a 3 if I were to rate it. I'm trying this new thing where I'm, like, not rating films. I don't know. I change up my rating system so often.
He changes up his rating system about once a year.
About once a year, yeah. This year I'm, like, not rating stuff if it's below a 4 or a 5, so this did not make the cut.
He's taken the real Mike Flanagan approach.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a nice way to approach ratings on, like, Letterboxd and everything, because that way you still have your high-rated stats, but, like, you don't have to, like, try and rate, like, a bunch of mediocre stuff if you don't want to.
We watch less mediocre films.
That is true.
That's my thing.
But yeah, ECO Trot, charming, but not, like, great or anything.
Yeah. On the 3rd, I watched The Sweet Smell of Success, or rather, Sweet Smell of Success, which is a very, very well-known noir.
Yeah.
Very, very fun, very, very cool.
I mean, it's in the Letterboxd Top 250.
Yeah, it's in the Letterboxd Top 250. It's in the Criterion Collection. If you know noirs, you know Sweet Smell of Success.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you've studied noir at all, you know Sweet Smell of Success.
But yeah, Tony Curtis is really fun in this. Burt Lancaster is really fun in this.
I mean, when is Tony Curtis not fun?
That's true. Tony Curtis is great.
Yeah.
But this was just really fantastic. It looks good. It feels good. It sounds good. The dialogue is so snappy, and as every single review on Letterboxd puts it, sharp. It's just like it's that really sweet, like, nails it brand of dialogue that noir has. It's not like my favorite film in the world. I'm not a big fan of its ending as much as I would like to be. Like, it didn't hit as hard as I feel a noir like this should.
Yeah, noirs usually have, like, a big gut punch finish. Like, that's their whole thing.
And it tried to. I just don't think it landed as well for me as I wish it would. But that's really my only problem. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Fair enough. On the 3rd, I sat down and watched Lady Snowblood for the first time, which was pretty cool. It's so funny how much of, like, proto Kill Bill this is. Like, it feels so strongly influential to how Quentin Tarantino approaches, like, gore and action and stuff.
That's the thing, though, Robbie. Quentin Tarantino's films are all incredibly derivative.
Yeah, well, yeah, he very much wears his influences on his sleeve, and, like, everyone mentions that. But yeah, Lady Snowblood, it's an exploitation film based on a manga, but it's not, like, aggressively, like, sexualizing of its female protagonist, which is really cool, I think. Like, yeah, like, hardly at all, really.
Nice.
Yeah, I was
surprising.
It's an early 70s Japanese, like, cut 'em up kind of movie, which is cool. I don't know, it's really fun. It's got some just amazing visuals. Like, it almost reminded me of how Park Chan-wook likes to shoot action. It's really awesome. Like, it's just amazing, really. Like, from, like, set design, the, like, lens choices, the way they just dress all the sets, it's amazing. It looks amazing. The movement's amazing. The performances are great. I love the gore. It's a really fun time. I really want to watch it with you sometime, Micah, since you have seen Kill Bill and I haven't.
Though, to be fair, Kill Bill and Kill Bill Volume 2 are, like, my least favorite Tarantino films.
Yeah, I think you'll like this a bit more. She's got, like, she's got a little umbrella sword, Micah. That's, like, so cool.
That is pretty sick.
But I gave Lady Snowblood a 4 out of 5. It's great. Definitely check it out if you want to.
What do you got next, Robbie?
Oh gosh, yeah, I didn't realize I was next. The next day I sat down and watched Gran Turismo with my dad, which is the newest Neil Blomkamp movie.
He knows this track. He's raced it 1,000 times.
Yeah, it's become sort of a joke within the film circle in, like, Georgia, at least, and a lot of people on the internet were kind of mocking it because its trailer played nonstop for months.
The trailer was on for so long. I'm sure it's not even that bad of a movie. I haven't heard terrible things about it.
It's not, like, bad.
But that trailer, man.
The trailer's pretty egregious. I don't know. The movie itself, I don't know, it ends up feeling a lot more, like, advertisement-y than I hoped it might, like, not be, you know? Like, I kind of hoped, like, they would use the PlayStation money as an excuse to make a compelling, like, drama about, like, this cool thing that happened, but instead it feels like PlayStation made an ad for their consoles, which is not really the vibe. It doesn't really feel like it has anything to say artistically about, like, the events that take place, but it's competently made, I guess. It's pretty boring for a lot of it, but the racing sequences are fun, which I mean, I guess that's what most people came for, and that's what you get. So, I don't know. It reminded me of Ambulance, but like they actually held on the drone shots longer, which was cool. Like that was the coolest thing about it.
That's the most unfortunate part about Ambulance is how fast it cuts.
Yeah, it kept cutting away from the drone shots. But yeah, in this one we get like some fun like dodges around stadiums and stuff with like really wide angle drone shots, and those are fun. Like the race sequences are all pretty fun. But again, I just wish it had a bit more to say, like as a movie, like because this could have just been a documentary. It literally adds nothing to anything.
Yeah.
I did not rate it. I would probably land it at like a 3. Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
Up next, though, we went out to the theater and we watched The Iron Claw.
Yeah.
Which we did not have a chance to talk about, I believe, in the big Wrapped episode we did.
Yeah, no, this was post-Wrapped. We did that on the second.
And man, The Iron Claw is so good. I did actually talk about it in that YouTube video where I also talked about Ferrari.
Yes.
But The Iron Claw really impressed me, and I've been thinking about it a lot afterwards. It's just a really well done, like mature feeling biopic that doesn't talk down to its audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And portrays things in a way that I feel very much justifies being a movie, and it's really tragic and really interesting and actually has like a decent message beyond, oh, isn't that sad?
Yeah, I was about to say, watching Gran Turismo and then going to the Iron Claw, like it's like Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb.
Yeah.
In terms of like sports biopics, it's like, it's just, it feels like it was made with so much more intentionality and like artistic voice. And it had the performances, yeah, they're so good. Zac Efron is like, I think honestly giving the best performance of his career.
Yeah, I would agree.
He's just immaculate here. It's great.
The cinematography is really nice. There's a lot of like really fun camera work and interesting stylization sprinkled throughout. It's not like crazy.
No.
But it makes it really engaging to watch.
I was about to say,
a nice toned back feel.
Yeah, it's got a nice solid writer director who like was very clearly had a vision for it and executed it. It's great. I think it's really solid.
There's a ton I really admire about it. It's not a perfect film, but it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so good. If you can handle the subject matter and the kind of heaviness of the film, I would definitely suggest go watching it.
Yeah. But yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Go watch it.
After that,
on the 7.
Oh, right. I forgot you liked
I
this.
watched The Perks of Being a Wallflower for the first time, which is partially for a video thing that I'm going to do eventually, and partially because it's one of my, or it was, I don't know if it still is, but this was definitely one of like my girlfriend's favorite movies when she was a bit younger.
Yeah.
And it's based on one of her favorite books. So I had not watched it. We finally got around to seeing it. And it's really sweet. I think it does a pretty great job at what it's trying to do. It's not like the best movie in the world. It certainly is like, I think it's a little bit more narrow of like a coming of age film than I was expecting. It doesn't seem very accessible unless you personally really relate to the characters and everything.
Which that can be a good thing.
Yeah, that can be a good thing. But there are just moments throughout, and it's rather like intense subject matter and everything that I felt like it didn't fully mesh with what it was going for. And it just didn't end up feeling quite like the coming of age film that I personally needed to watch at this point in my life.
Yeah.
But it's really good. I think it's really charming. Surprisingly enough, the 3 main cast, everybody always talks about them. It's some interesting baggage coming in with the 3 of them. But they all worked really, really well. Really engaging, and I think it handles its subject matter for the most part with decent tact. So yeah, very good. Has some great scenes, has some mediocre scenes, but a really, really solid film overall.
Yeah, I was surprised at like how much you liked it when I saw that you logged it. I was like, oh.
Well, dude, this is like I'm always surprised, like, because there's I know a lot of people who are super like, yeah, it's fine, but you'd be surprised just how many people like adore this movie, head over heels for it.
Interesting.
Which I get, like, I understand. If I connected to it more, I might be that way.
Yeah.
But being that I didn't connect with it as much, a lot of it's like weird character moments and flaws and like, I don't know, very pretentious feelingness comes through.
Fair enough.
But I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Now the thing that I tried to jump to.
Yeah.
The SpongeBob musical live on stage.
Yeah, we
watched that on the 8th.
Which we had seen this performed at KSU.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was cool, seeing it actually in person.
That's one of like the biggest shows that I've seen live. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was fun. The recording is also pretty fun. It's obviously not nearly as magical as seeing the show in person, but it's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the performances in it a lot. I like a lot of like the set design and the costuming and stuff. Like there's a lot of really fun stage elements to it that again would be really cool to see live.
Tom Kenny makes an appearance. That was fun. Yeah. But ultimately, like, the actual script and, like, narrative and themes and everything of this musical are a bit wonky.
They are, yeah.
A bit out of place. They don't work super cohesively. But whatever. It's the SpongeBob SquarePants musical live on stage featuring Tom Kenny.
Yeah, it's weird that it's not called the SpongeBob SquarePants musical. It's just the SpongeBob musical. I had to like stop myself from saying SpongeBob SquarePants.
It's not the SpongeBob SquarePants musical?
It's the SpongeBob musical.
I guess they thought that would be more like easier to write on things or something.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I love the performances. I like a lot of the music from it. Like, I don't understand why the soundtrack is good.
Right, they got too many like big names to work on the songs. What was up with that?
Yeah, but I think generally it's a good time. The taping of it doesn't really add that much from a cinematic perspective, but it's still fun enough on its own like merits as a stage play that I enjoyed watching it.
Plus, it's a little annoying that the recording is specifically like the Nickelodeon TV version, so you keep getting commercial like breaks, even though there weren't any commercials. Like it would just be like, you're watching Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it'll like leave off on a cliffhanger and then come back like it's TV, which I mean it was, but it's funny.
But yeah, I didn't rate that.
I didn't rate it either. It would probably be like a 3, maybe a 2. It would be a 3. I would watch it again.
And then just before we were recording this, we rewatched Blade Runner, the final cut. I showed it to my girlfriend. She had not seen it before. I really want to show her Blade Runner 2049.
That was the end goal.
Because she's not a big fan of this kind of movie, especially from this era, so I wasn't expecting her to love it.
This is bordering on, like, art house sci-fi, which is funny.
That's such a funny statement, though, because I know so many people who would get mad at that reference.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. I think, I don't know, I think it's pretty much in line, especially with the art house movement in the 80s. Like, it's very, like, atmospheric and almost abstract at times. I don't know. I think it's not quite as experimental.
If you're watching the final cut,
that's true.
Well, plus, but you get like the unicorn stuff and I don't know. I really love this movie. It's one of my personal favorite sci-fis. I love its atmosphere. I love its performance. I love its themes. I love its world. I love how many little things you can poke at. I love its ambiguity and how it leaves so much up to the audience. And yeah, I love it.
I'm still kind of torn on it. We're no stranger to being like, oh, Ridley Scott, he's such a good director. Like, if you listen to our Legend episode, I'm obviously a fan of some of Ridley's early stuff. But Blade Runner, I didn't really connect with that much on my first viewing. But the second time around, I kind of got into the atmosphere a bit more. Yay. Like, I was able to find my footing a bit better. And I don't know, the themes, especially around, like, the main, like, guy Decker's tracking down, I was like, this is actually, like, really cool. Like,
the main guy, whatever his name is, he's played by that one actor.
Yeah, he's played by that guy, he's got silver hair, that guy. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it a lot more. I got a lot more into it this time. It's still not perfect. I would say it's a bit of a stretch to call it that, but it is really good, and it's really ambitious. And I love the miniature work in it. All of the effects are so cool. I would definitely go for another rewatch, but I'm really excited to revisit 2049 now that I've seen this again. Because I've only seen 2049 like half asleep. So I really want to revisit that.
Yeah, I've watched 2049 at this point like 3 times, and Blade Runner like 3 or 4 times now.
But I ended up rating Blade Runner the final cut 4 out of 5.
I give it a 5 out of 5.
Solid movie.
Great movie. But yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
That's what we watched.
Nice and simple.
That's how we kicked off our year.
And we're going to keep on keeping on with some good movies, hopefully.
I was about to say, if you're feeling ambitious, you can comment like the first few movies you watched this year as well, if you want to. If you're on YouTube or on Spotify.
See, so. I thought you were about to be like, if you're feeling like emotionally ambitious, go watch The Iron Claw.
Oh no.
But yeah, go watch The Iron Claw.
Go watch a good movie.
Go watch ECO Trot if you want a weird little romance movie, and just ignore James Corden.
Dude, if you want to see a bunch of tortoises, that is the most amount of tortoises I've ever seen in a movie, and it was great. That was literally, I think, half of my enjoyment.
So many tortoises, man. But yeah, thanks for listening, and thanks for joining us on our podcast journey. We've been doing this for like 5 years.
That's crazy.
That's pretty cool. And I don't know how much we'll be able to do this in the new year, but hopefully we'll still be able to, because I really enjoy it. And maybe you do too.
Whoa.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That's crazy. He pointed at the microphone, by the way. He wasn't pointing at me. I think he knows I enjoy doing it, hopefully.
Yeah, I pointed at the microphone, which behind the microphone is Duolingo, the Duo Owl.
If you want to see this Duo plushie, you can go watch our live episode where we summarize our 2023 movie watches.
Also, I'm going to take a picture and post it on our Twitter.
Nice. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.